Welcome to Leadership from the Trenches with Mike Berry and Nicole Swan.
Welcome to another edition of Leadership from the Trenches. I'm Mike Berry. I'm one of the co-hosts of this wonderful podcast, and my associate is Nicole Swan. Nikki, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Nikki Swan. I'm principal consultant with Peridot Circle Consulting.
Very
Happy
good.
to be here.
Very good. And I should mention I'm with Red Rock Research, a training company. We have part three today of leadership with author James Pizzola. And we've got his book here. Excellent book. This is what we've been going through. And I think this part two, part one, we talked about James' history and background and inspiration for writing this book. And you should go watch those if you haven't already. You notice it's sort of a children's book because James wrote this for his son, right? And how old is your son now, James?
My son is 7 and certainly developing into quite the little leader himself, even at this early age.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome. Do you have a leadership story about a 7-year-old you could tell us?
Yeah, one of the things that really is remarkable about him is from a very early age, he has always been the type of little boy to take the initiative and meet people. So anybody that I've ever put him around, anybody that I've ever seen him with, he'll just go right up to him. Hi, his name is Emmy. Hi, I'm Emmy. Who are you? So he already has that developed in his character at this young age, and I'm so thrilled about that because it seems like he's going to be very well adjusted for this crazy world.
Lots of confidence there for sure.
Yeah, quite.
You actually bring up an important trait. I was actually teaching a class earlier today, and we were talking about how one of the principles of good leadership is being able to trust the people on your team. And it sounds like he's already building trust in others. And
yeah, very much so.
Yeah, very, very good. All right. Well, we part two, we went through the first half of James' book, and let's see, it looks like the topics we went through, we talked about strategic vision, communication skills, decision making, emotional intelligence, adaptability and flexibility, and we're going to continue with motivation and inspiration. And that's the next section here. And it looks like no, sorry, we did that also. I think creativity and innovation is the next part we're going to talk about. Creativity and innovation.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about inspiring and engendering creativity in your group. And
so I think, at least in my experience, what a leader can do is they can give their team the ability to have that, you mentioned trust, that trust that they can try things out and see what works, see what doesn't work, have the ability to fail without, I don't want to say without complete, consequences, but without repercussions, without fearing that something negative is going to impact them or their career. And I think that's where a lot of breakthroughs come through, is being able to have that confidence as a team member that your leader, your manager says that it's okay to try something, so that it's okay to take a bit of a risk, a calculated risk, but still something that may not be conventional, but that may work, that may increase productivity, and may increase efficiency, may save the team, X amount of dollars, what have you. And that's one of the big things that I've seen really good leaders do, is they give their teams the freedom and allowance to be creative and to innovate.
James, how important do you think it is that those leaders have the quality of creativity and innovation themselves in order to inspire in their teams? Or do you think that it isn't necessary to have that to inspire it in their teams?
I don't know if the leader themselves has to be necessarily creative. I think they have to foster a safe space to be able to give their teams the ability to do that. I think I'm a fairly creative person myself, However, what's great about working with a variety of different people from a variety of different backgrounds is they're going to bring experiences that you don't have, that you know, ideas that you haven't thought of just because you haven't had that life experience that that person has had. And if you allow them to express those ideas and try things out, a lot of times it will work to you and your team's benefit. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
Thank you.
James, this is a really important principle that you're touching on here. I know the Toyota production system, when Toyota was developing their quality practices, one of the realities they stumbled upon was that you know, you have to fail to innovate. And you know, we kind of talk about that in our culture now, that you know, fail fast. I think that's a kind of a catchy buzzword that people talk about.
Yeah.
I've heard some experts say, don't say that to senior management. Say we're learning. Don't say we're
Yeah.
failing fast. But among the people in the trenches, we talk about failing fast so that you know what to do better next time. But you know, they learn that if there's kind of a set of principles that all work together, and you touched on them. You know, one is that you have to innovate to get ahead. Deming, who helped the Japanese create the Toyota production system, he came back to Ford, and Ford tried to do some of the things but couldn't quite get it to work right. And they found him and had him come and help them also. And he helped them understand that the Western culture, unfortunately, has been set up to, get people in trouble when there's been a mistake or a failure. And this is actually toxic. And so nobody wants to try anything new. Managers don't want to try anything new when their direct reports, make suggestions. And Deming had to help Ford get rid of that mentality that it's okay for mistakes to happen, that you need to encourage innovation. And not only that, but the culture of bonuses based on quotas was really a bad idea. I mean, think about it. If you're responsible for 10,000 cars a week, and someone wants to try some new idea, and your bonus is based on the 10,000 cars a week going out the door, the last thing you want to hear about is a new idea. And so, all these innovative ideas were getting shut down, below senior management, and they had to really change the culture to start asking their people, it's not about 10,000 cars a week, it's about more cars a week. How can we improve things so that we get more cars a week out the door? And that needed to become the new objective. And so that was part of it, is not getting your people in trouble when they make mistakes, but rather challenging them to figure out a way that problem could never impact the production system or their role again, whether it was them or somebody else actually performing that work. And it's a real key.
I think that's a great.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nikki.
Well, I was going to say, as you look at our current marketplace, just look over across all industries, do you have a sense that we are now a place that allows for a market that allows for more creativity, or do you feel like we're still in that space where we reward based on productivity and we punish unwittingly innovation and creativity because of it? Do you think we have progressed beyond that?
The way I'd answer that is this: yes and no. As you've probably seen from some of the innovations that have come out from, let's just say, the tech industry in the last couple of years. And the tech industry has always been usually much, much better than a lot of other companies at doing this, is they will take those risks and they will try and innovate and be creative in what they're trying to come up with and the problems that they're trying to solve. And I've noticed that, at least for a lot of other companies and industries, that word disruption is there because people will come in and find a way to do it better. And that's where a lot of these companies, who, especially longtime legacy companies, in this span of a couple of years can go from a market leader to barely in the game anymore. You look at, I would say probably one of the best examples I can think of off the top of my head is BlackBerry. They owned the market. They had all of it. They had I don't know, something like 90 something percent of the smartphone market back in 2006.
I remember that. I had one. Yeah, they were
Yeah,
everywhere in business
Yeah.
world.
right. And as we all know, Apple came along with something more creative, with something more innovative, and BlackBerry, they're gone. I mean, they're not gone. The company still exists, but they're not. Who do you know that has a BlackBerry? Nobody.
Yeah, nobody.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, it's a risk, and I've seen, at least in my experience, again, I've seen companies that I've been with hesitate to try things new because, just like you said, Mike, they're either bonused off something, or we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to lose our position that we're in this company. So they just go through the status quo, and it leads to, in my opinion, a decline overall in the company because
We're getting a little internet freezing there. Let's see. Nikki,
Shoot.
can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
but
it's a
it's
James.
on.
I think it's a James side there.
Yeah.
Give him a minute to recover. Yeah, he mentions in his book that a lack of creativity can actually create apathy among the staff also, and that's a problem. So, have you ever worked somewhere that the powers that be were shutting down creativity or shutting down new ideas?
Yes.
yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Finish what you were saying, and then yeah.
Yeah. So again, I'm sorry, a little internet connection issue there, but I guess the main point of what I was trying to say is the companies that will thrive and continue to do well are the companies that are able to change and allow for change. And yeah, they're going to fail. I mean, there's a lot of products that Amazon has come out with, a lot of ideas that they've come out with that, quite frankly, have not done well, but they keep trying things. And that's why they have 50% or more at this point of the internet shopping cart, if you will.
Hmm. I think that intersects with risk, right? And risk tolerance really does go hand in hand with creativity and innovation in the workplace.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And if you're not going to take risks, I mean, life is a risk. So if you're not going to be willing to take, and again, calculated risks, what's
Yes.
the point?
Yeah, it's so true.
We talk about in my classes, we talk about calculated risk versus pure risks and real simple differences. Pure risk always ends up bad for everybody. A calculated risk could be good or could end up bad. Just depends on how it's managed.
Yeah. And you want to mitigate it as much as you can, but at the end of the day, it's kind of the same thing with a lot of parts of life. If you don't step up to the plate, yeah, you could strike out, but you could have hit a homer and then you win the game.
Yeah.
So that's my philosophy anyway.
Well, Mike, you asked if I worked for anybody like that, and the phrase, I had one particular leader who would say all the time, "Thank you for your ideas, but that's not how it's done." I think one of the biggest killers of innovation and creativity is that phrase. That's not how we do it. That's not how it's always been done. That idea that we stick with what's always worked and we don't change it. So yeah, I didn't stick around too long.
Yeah, that's
Well, in that case, why don't we continue to use a typewriter?
Right. That's how it was always done.
That's how we always done it before we switched.
Yeah, that old school mentality. Yep, that's why BlackBerry's gone and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. James, you want to make a comment about agile mindsets because agile encourages innovation.
Yeah. So in the software development industry, that's definitely where most companies are trying to go towards. There's a lot of companies out there that say, "Oh yeah, we're agile," and then don't do anything that follows it. I think you do have to lean into being able to do the things that will advance your company, and that's one of the things that agile kind of advocates for, is trying things out, doing something new. You don't have to have a tremendous amount of documentation, just enough to convey what you're trying to get across. It's more about actually delivering something than excessive documentation in that example. So yeah, that's a big agile mindset that is, quite frankly, can be a little difficult to get across to some companies who, especially like you said, Nikki, are kind of stuck in their ways. This is how we've always done it. And again, it might not hurt them today, but it doesn't foster a good outcome for them, I think, in the next 6 months, year, 2 years, 5 years.
Yeah, they'll be outpaced by everybody else who are adapting and changing and innovating.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so the next topic in your book is team building, and team building is a fun topic for me to talk about. But what can you tell us about team building, James?
Yeah, so to be a manager, to be a leader, it requires people to follow you. It requires you to lead a group of people towards a common goal. And in order to do that successfully, I think you have to foster a environment in which people feel comfortable and people feel okay to take those risks, as we just talked about, and be creative and innovate, feel safe within the team environment, and be able to lean on one another and lean on each other person's strengths and skills to be able to complete whatever task it is that you're trying to do. So I'm not a big fan of unnecessary meetings, but quite honestly, there's a lot of times where sometimes it's good just to get a team together and just talk. Doesn't even have to be about the project, the business, anything. Let's get to know each other on a little bit more personal level, because then when I'm, let's say we were on a team, Mike, hey, Mike, I need this and that. And oh, by the way, how's your kid doing? How's, did you see that sports game the other day? Because I know you said you were into sports. Whatever it happens to be, you're going to be a lot more receptive than if it's just, Mike, I need you to get this email out. You know what I mean? It gives that personal connection there that I think a lot of people and a lot of companies just focus on, well, we're just doing productivity. And well, you need to get to know people on a little bit more personal basis. At least that's my personal view.
So James, what are inherent challenges with this, or I should say solutions to this in a remote environment? Oh, I think
I think he's frozen again. Yeah, but that's a great question, Nikki. Yeah, how we do team building in a remote environment. I've got a few ideas that I've gotten from people in my classes that work in remote environments. One of the things they'll do is maybe they all like video games, and they'll play the same video game, after hours or something together.
that's fun.
Or they'll all go see the same movie the same night together, and they'll talk about it the next day. And not sure if you heard the question, James, but Nikki was asking about what are some fun team building exercises in a remote environment.
Well, it depends on how widespread people are. If they are local but all work from home, I think you could still do some of those team building type exercises. Or in the case of where I'm currently at, we'll go out to a happy hour. We'll go out to a dinner occasionally, not super often, but at least enough to where you get to know your colleagues a little bit. And if you're a little bit further away, let's say you're dispersed across the country or across the world, the world's a little tough because everybody's on different time. But let's say it's across the country. I mean, you could still get together during business hours and just have half an hour kind of water cooler session. Hey, did you guys see that new show on Netflix? Did you see the highlights of whatever team was playing, whatever. So I think you can still do that. I think you can still foster that connection. It's just like you and I are talking, or the three of us are talking. We're making connections. We're finding out more about each other. And I think you can do that at a regular business as well.
Yeah, I like how you touched on being human, being a real person with uh, interests outside of just the business workflow. That's a real big part of team building, is being human and even slightly vulnerable. Sharing things you're trying to do with your team, and things like that are maybe outside of the workplace. That's really good.
Absolutely.
There's a really good book out called The Carrot Principle that was written by somebody at OC Tanner, which is a company here in Salt Lake City that's pretty well known. And it's a great book about team building. And in the book, there's a comment there about creating repeatable events or memories where the whole team is involved. And they say it doesn't even really matter what you do. Hopefully they're positive memories.
Yeah.
Just manufacturing memories together with that group of people again and again and again is really the secret sauce of team building. And once you understand that, it's a powerful pattern. You can use it with your family. You can use it with your neighborhood. We have neighborhood parties in my cul-de-sac occasionally. You can use it at the PTA, the Boy Scouts, whatever. And it's a great way to really get your team to gel together like that.
You bring up an interesting point, because I think one of the other things that companies miss is the fact that it's going to increase retention also.
Yes.
People who like where they work, they're comfortable with their colleagues, they're comfortable with the managers, if hopefully they participate, they're less likely to leave. If you I'm just a cog in this wheel and I can be replaced by anybody, nobody cares, why would I stay?
Yeah.
But if I feel that sense of family, and I use that term loosely because there's a lot, I think that's thrown around a lot, where companies say, "Oh, we're a family here." Usually I say, "Well, run away," because that's never true. But you still want to be able to feel like, "Hey, I'm valued here. I am important. People think of me as more than just worker number, blah, 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 blah."
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of companies could benefit just from the retention point of view, because it costs a lot of money to train a new person, to bring them on, to get them up to speed.
Yeah.
And if you have somebody that stays there, you gain all of that. You gain all of that back.
Yeah, and I that's a wonderful comment, and and you could even put some dollar signs around that, and yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see, the next topic, we have conflict management. Conflict management. What does that mean? Who has conflict in the workplace?
Oh, I don't know. I've never seen that before. Conflict management. Yeah. So going along what we've been talking about, how everybody's human. You're going to butt heads with people sometimes, and that's part of life. You're going to do it in work. You're going to do it with friends, family. You're going to do it because that's just part of the human experience. Conflict management, and I talk about this, of course, more extensively in the book, and give some strategies to manage that, is about trying to see how you can diffuse a situation and come up with a win-win solution. It's not always going to be win-win. Sometimes it's going to be win-draw. Sometimes it's going to be win-lose. I think the important thing, and I've said this to the teams that I've managed before, because anytime we're making a big change to a process or a system, I don't like to keep that away from the rest of the group. I want to bring it up with them. Hey guys, this is what we're thinking about doing. This is why we're thinking about doing it. What are your thoughts? And there may be pushback, like you were talking about, Nikki. Well, we've always done it this way. Okay, I can understand that. But now we're going to start doing it this way. And then giving them the chance to give their opinions or their feelings on why they feel a certain way, even if you don't end up following the path that this person or that person wants, and they're upset about it. I think oftentimes they may not agree, they may be a little bit upset, but at least they had the opportunity to voice their concerns and feel like they were heard. Even if you do go in a different direction than what that person was asking about. So, and I think that's a really good way to manage that conflict, because it's going to occur. It's just a part of business. It's a part of life. So yeah, that's how I look at it.
You know, I remember the first or second kind of real job I had, you know, above and beyond, you know, burger flipping and a paper route. I think it was the second place I worked. There was somebody there that I really felt like didn't like me. And I remember like, well, you know, what did I do? And I was really introspective, and at the time I didn't understand it. I do now. They were just intimidated, and that's can be a natural reaction, unfortunately, sometimes. But I went to this award ceremony, and this old guy was there, and he got some award, and he was talking about stuff, and he says, you know, everywhere you work, you're going to have people that you work with that don't like you, or you don't like somebody. It's just part of the experience, and blah 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 blah. And he really kind of popped my bubble. I was like, oh, this is just, you know, part of the experience, part of
Yeah.
the career experience. And you know, like you said, you just do your best to you know, get through it and focus on, you know, what you need, and getting past the problem, and not so much the person. And yeah, it happens.
And I'll pose this question to the two of you guys. Are you still, or are you friends with everybody you've ever met?
No.
No.
Of course.
Yeah.
And in a non-business setting, hey, I'm not jiving with this person. I'm not clicking with this person. I'm just not going to associate myself with this person. However, in a business setting, since you're not the one that's deciding who is going to be there, it's extremely important to have these skills, because for most of us, what we do every day from 8 to 5, 9 to 5, or whenever you do it during the day, that's how you sustain yourself. That's how you take care of your family. That's how you provide for the necessities that you need. So it is something that, yeah, you better get good at it pretty quick if you're not, because otherwise it's going to be a pretty challenging road ahead.
Absolutely. Something that was transformative for me, it's a pretty simple concept, but to really internalize it, it took some for me, is that those situations where there's conflict, it isn't personal. But
Yeah.
we hurt because we take it personally. We say, oh, they don't agree with my idea because they think I'm stupid and I don't, you know, whatever. You take it personally, and you project your fears and your insecurities onto that whole situation and make it so much worse. And doing that work to really look inside myself and be honest within those situations, it wasn't just this person behaving so badly. A lot of it was me receiving it badly, you know, receiving it personally.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't think you should take most anything personally. Well, most of the time, whether it's in business or not. Oftentimes people are just giving you their opinions, and you can do with that what you want. If somebody said, you know, you like the color red. Oh, the color red's stupid. Okay, well, you may not like it. I do.
Yep.
Now
Yep.
we're in a business setting. It's something where, oh, I disagree with you. Okay, that's understandable. You're disagreeing with my idea, but that doesn't make my idea bad. It might not be the right idea for this particular instance. But yeah, I think taking things personally is something, if people can do a good job of avoiding, I would recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did a presentation for the local PMI chapter last year about the bully in the workplace, and dealing with them. And one of the takeaways from that, I did some research in some publications that talked about this topic. And one of the takeaways that I thought was really useful was, if you find yourself sort of the victim of a bully around you, you know, first understand that there's probably absolutely nothing wrong with you or your behavior. It's them. They have the personality type where they will find, you know, easy, weak people and kind of to pick at them a little bit. Some people are like that. That's just their nature.
Yeah.
And so what some of the research said is, if you find yourself a victim of this kind of behavior, one way to kind of subtly protect yourself is to just be not so easy with that person. When they ask you for something, tell them, yeah, but you're busy until after lunch. So you do it for, you know, you get them that thing after lunch or something. or, can they talk to you about this? Kind of be on your way somewhere. I can't really do it right now, but maybe tomorrow. And so you just kind of do these. You just kind of become uphill to them, if that makes sense. Where they realize that if they're going to mess with you, it's going to be uphill, and there's
Yeah.
probably somebody else around that's an easier target. And that's something you can do that's within your power, that can be really effective to kind of deflect people like that. And who knows why they're that way? They may have a bad marriage. They may, whatever. They may just have been brought up with strange patterns like that, and they really don't, can't really get along with people very well. But that's something you can do. And I also like in your book how you talk about maintaining healthy communication prevents misunderstandings. You know,
Yeah.
if you think about it, when communication ends, what comes after that? Divorce, war,
Yes.
breakups, whatever. Like good
Yes,
things don't happen when communication ends, and
that's
so
true.
that's
And it's even to add to that just a little bit, it's even more difficult for employees where that work bully is the boss, is the
Mm.
leader, or is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I wish I could give good a good explanation of how to approach that. Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it's not the right fit. Sometimes it's just flat out a toxic work environment. And the best thing you can do is to leave. Because it's not something worth putting yourself in a position in which you're going to feel bullied or bad, made to feel bad about yourself. And eventually, that will catch up with that person, especially if they are the leader. Sometimes you just got to move on.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, we're about out of time. There's one last section: integrity and ethics. You want to
Yeah.
speak to that for just a minute?
Yeah, so I saved this for last in the book because I think this kind of wraps up a lot of the concepts that were discussed. And integrity and ethics in a workplace is, to me, something that you need to adhere to because it's going to make or break the respect that you have or that your team has for you. I think there's a difference between trying something new and cutting corners. And from the integrity point of view, if you say that we're going to try this and it's going to be okay if you give this a shot and it doesn't work out, and then somebody tries something and then they get reprimanded for it, I think that just really destroys any type of trust that the team's going to have in being able to rely on you as a leader, or to be able to feel that comfortability to try something new. And from an ethics point of view, there's a lot of rules out there. You should follow them. The ones that pertain to safety standards, regulations, the laws, because that's just how you need to do business. The companies that try and get around that, such as, I'm trying to think, WorldCom's coming to mind. There was what's that company that was in Enron? That's the one I was thinking of.
Enron, yeah.
Yeah, great. You guys are doing fantastic for a time being, and then it all catches up with you, and then it all falls apart. So if you want something that's going to be long lasting and sustainable, you got to have the integrity and the ethics in what you do.
Agreed.
Very good. All right. Well, this has been really fun, James. Thanks so much for your insights and this wonderful book. And this is available on Amazon, right? People can get this on Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon or Audible.
Okay, or Audible. Yeah, that's right, or Audible. Very good. All righty. Well, this has been terrific. We've had 3 wonderful sessions with James Pizzola, author, and thanks so much for your insights and your wisdom, James. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's really been a pleasure talking with you guys, getting to know you a little bit better, and I'm very excited to continue my journey in managerial leadership, and I hope this book helps a lot of your viewers do that as well.
Thanks so much.
All right, thanks. Well, Nikki, I think that's a wrap.
Okay.